Hello, welcome to Illuminations with Tiina and Fi. I'm Fi.
And I'm Tiina. Hi.
Hi Tiina, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm just smiling because, I'm obviously pressing the record button, and I'm trying not to look at the record button and to not be obvious that I am doing the record button. And it's like, why did I do that? Anyway, that's why I'm chuckling to myself.
Chuckling to yourself. Good.
Yes.
Okay. So this series is about inner peace. And you're obviously having a little bit of not quite a moment of that when you were pressing the record button, but at least you were chuckling. So that's quite relevant, because last time we talked about why I wanted to choose inner peace in January. And we talked about, and thank you, Tiina, because I was really intrigued on what is inner peace for both of us, and what does it feel physiologically, and what kind of other states do we have around it. So if you haven't seen that so far, go back and have a watch of that, because it's quite interesting, because I learned things about Tiina that I never knew. And you'll see me actually discover things about myself that I hadn't known either. So this one, we're going to be looking at strategies. And I thought this would be really interesting, because this was the hard one for me. Because, as I said, I put it out there in a vision board, the first vision board I did 3 years ago, that my desired state was inner peace. And up until last week, which we'll talk about later, I would say I lived most of my life between 60 to 80% in inner peace. And as we said, it doesn't mean you become like the Dalai Lama of where you live. It's not about that. It just means that you are in a place that you know, where life can happen around you, but actually you're kind of in a bubble of inner peace and contentment. So I don't know what you thought about that, Tiina, about how you have moved to a place of inner peace. How do you maintain your inner peace? What do you do to keep your inner peace?
I think it's a very good question. It's a very interesting question. And I think for me, it's probably, is it a hard to answer question? Possibly. I think sometimes inner peace just kind of happens. It's like, oh, I'm in a really lovely, good place. I'm in alignment. I've got clarity, and I don't actually exactly know how I ended up there. I think maybe if I turn it around and say, when I notice that I don't have it, can I trace it back to what I haven't been doing? Which is kind of the same answer. And I think when I stop doing daily practices such as meditation, some kind of gratitude practice, whether it's a very active one or whether it's a reflection on what I have in my life, those are indicators of, I haven't been doing those. And also, not so long ago, I got an offer to work on a project which I thought I should be interested in. This was really, like supporting people in their own development in their life is something that I'm passionate about. But I didn't feel it with this particular project, but I should have felt it. And that really, and I said, yes, I will do it, while my whole body was screaming, no, you don't want to do this. And I was like, yeah, but this will be good for these reasons, And it's, when I stop listening in and kind of go, logically, this is the best thing to do, that's when I lose it. What about you, Fian?
Well, that's really interesting. I think you've banged on right. What I was going to say is that last week, when I was really experiencing states that weren't of inner peace and not sleeping, I think I had realised I'd got out of my very simple practices. And I know you meditate, and I know that really keeps you in a very good place. You talk about that very openly with me. And for me, I realised I had got out of the habit of gratitude at night, even though I realise I'm grateful a lot through the day. I say thank you, for this, and thank you for that, to the universe and to whoever. I actually had stopped doing that gratitude practice at night. And then in the morning, I had stopped setting my intention for the day, and I had stopped kind of visualizing my vision board and being with my vision board. And that's my morning practice for me. And so I was going straight into looking at emails, WhatsApp, and that I realized had been something that I just hadn't thought about. But it's really interesting. You're right. When you start to look at what's not happening, it does help. So that's really good. And you mentioned something last time when you talked about being in the moment. I think what I was starting to do was come out of the moment. I'm naturally more a big picture person in the old NLP world, just a preference. And the way I manage projects is by not doing that, which is really brilliant. And I've learned that through my work. So I focus in on each step that I'm working on, and suddenly you go, oh, I've done that. The project's happened, the book's written, la la. And actually what I was starting to do was go big picture. And I think I was looking at everything that was happening and going, oh my goodness, when am I going to do all this? And so by going back in and planning, and you and we did that, didn't we? And you helped because you came with me on that intricate planning that I obviously needed at that time. And I didn't realize until I was thinking about this, where we worked out what we had to do, when we were going to do it. That's how I keep my life sane. And so thank you for that, because I now realize that contributed to me coming back into a more grounded place. So I think they're quite key for me. And also, I've worked very much on self-love, and as you know, and something I think came out yesterday where I was loving myself, yeah, but I was loving the part of me that was acceptable in my head. So the part of me that was the perfect little girl, the more kind, caring, but the part of me that gets a little bit irritated, particularly when things don't feel fair, and I can, argue, and that part of me I wasn't accepting, that kind of shadow side of us. So I had a massive learning yesterday, and I think that's brought me back together. And it's my belief is I am lovely, all of me, and that's my new mantra. So I realized that there was a little bit of me expressing wants, feeling a bit uncomfortable about that, not allow boundaries. You said last time, putting boundaries down and going, this is not okay anymore, with some personal relationships, that ending up in quite heated discussion, me then going, oh my goodness, I'm still, that person that can get cross, when I'm supposed to watch, it's kind of, I had this view that I was going to be walking around like the Dalai Lama of Hove, where I live, and that's not okay. That is just unattainable, and that is just not going to create inner peace. And my coach was really funny. She said, I bet when the Dalai Lama stubs his toe, he does go, oh, blow that. He doesn't go, well, he may go, bless that bed leg, who knows. But anyway, it's not real for me. And so that was really helpful. So daily practice, bringing in the love, but kind of accepting and loving all of me. And boundaries, boundaries. Now that actually can create some discomfort, and I know we're going to look at boundaries in a later series, so I won't go too much into that. And it's learning to live with that discomfort. That's where the inner peace as well, because it's accepting that part of me too.
And it's about life is about contrasts. If we don't know, well, to put it bluntly, the darker side, how do we know the lighter side? That doesn't mean that we have to delve into the darkness and kind of make it even darker. It's just that knowing the difference.
And Brené Brown does this beautifully, Brené again, our woman, and because she talks about that you can't just numb out from unhappiness or grief and then expect to feel joy. It doesn't work like that. And so if I take my determination, which is a real positive quality of me, and helps me get lots of work done, helps me kind of stay in my daily practice, that's that determination. Well, on the shadow side of me, that's kind of stubbornness. And so without stubbornness, I wouldn't have determination. And so it's kind of appreciating that if we just even put it down the middle, whatever it is, that there will be a lighter and shadow side of it. Interestingly, positive psychology too is just, they're sort of talking about a lot at the moment. I know I shared something with you yesterday, and they're talking now, you know, after Seligman talking about positive psychology and looking at what people do that keeps them in good resilience, gives them a good place. They're now also starting as part of positive psychology too, to look at that shadow side as well. So I think there's some very exciting work going on around that. So inner peace is loving all of me, and accepting all of me. No conditional love, you know, it's actually unconditional. And I was actually putting down conditions, and that I hadn't realized. So that was really interesting.
I think what I'm hearing from what we're both saying is very much there's some kind of action of sorts in achieving inner peace.
Yeah.
You know, again, it's not like you just kind of, the heavens opens up and gives it to you, which would be amazing. But, you know, just in terms of self-compassion and self-love, there's some work that usually happens to get there. I mean, for some people, it's a natural part of who they've always been, and that's wonderful, you know. But again, boundaries sometimes take some work, you know, to get that. And
some work.
Well, for some of us,
a lot of work.
Women present in this, it's taken a lot of work, and still, for me, I'm in the middle of that process.
Yeah,
you know, I'm nowhere near the kind of where I want to be with that. But as I said, you know, I mentioned about the project, which I felt was, you know, eventually, it took me a month and a half, 2 months to kind of go, actually, thank you, but no thank you. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. And I was very nervous about the reply from the other side, you know, because I had kind of said yes at first and then said no, which was like, totally went against everything that I kind of have thought is the right thing. But then when I got a very good reply back, compassionate reply back, it was like, oh, this was good. You know, this was good. Yeah.
So it sounds like to me, Tiina, what you had was gut instinct going on there, and we know now about the brain in the gut, you know, really strong, really powerful, probably more powerful and reliable than the brain, which filters a whole load of stuff. So you had some gut stuff going on physiologically, then it kicked off. You then showed up, was really authentic and true in your clarification of your reasonings and your decisions about why you weren't. And actually the response back was compassionate, which then just enhanced your inner peace. Fabulous.
But, you know, and again, saying that, you know, the road there isn't always smooth.
No.
You know, that wasn't a smooth road.
No.
As you know, because you helped me figure it out. Thank you. But yes. And I think also talking about this, we know that there can be different strategies towards inner peace from person to person. It is a trial and error almost of what works.
Definitely. And I think it's really important because, you know, I'm trained in mindfulness, and, you know, I meditation is something I have worked in and out, had an interesting relationship with. I kind of focus more on the more mindful kind of being in the moment. I know you do meditation, my partner does meditation, but I'm learning to not judge myself because of that. You know, you've got to find what works for you, and you're bang on right. I think what was really interesting when we talked last time, and that when we talked just then, is this clarity. I loved your word, clarity and alignment, because clarity, if we're not in a state of inner peace, it generally means we're in fight or flight. And so when we talk about our shoulders up physiologically, that's because we're protecting the jugular from when we were way back on the savannah plains. And so it's if you know you're doing that, you're in fight or flight. And if you're in fight or flight, your, you know, prefrontal cortex, where your decision making goes on holiday, there are neurotransmitters that will shut it down because it doesn't want you to go, oh, is that the less spotted saber-toothed tiger, or the more common brown striped saber-toothed tiger who just wants you to bloody run, you know? So that's why when you are in this place of inner peace, as you say, you get more clarity, because literally your brain is functioning well. So if, for example, you can't find your keys regularly, or you put things down, and just take a moment to go, okay, what's happening inside here? Where's the inner peace here? How can I regain that? Because what's obviously happening is that you are probably, your adrenals up and you've gone into a bit of fight or flight. So that's an interesting one. And then finding what's for you to get into that that inner peace state, and knowing what that feels like. You know, work on experiencing it. Yeah.
Definitely.
Right, Tina, I think that's probably our time for today.
Yes.
So what questions shall we ask from this one? Last time we asked, how do you know when you are in a state of inner peace, and notice physiologically, and notice when you are in the day. So what could we ask today?
I've got radio silence.
What about so, okay, we talked about how do you know. So let's start getting people, let's come out of what we were looking at. So what strategies have you tried, or can you try, to actually bring in a state of inner peace and find what works for you? So how many strategies can you find to try to bring on a state of peace, and try some that may be outside your thinking, outside the box a bit for you? So how many strategies can you try, can you experience, that would help bring on a state of inner peace, or enhance a state of inner peace?
Yeah. And obviously there's some suggestions throughout this episode.
But there are, and of course there are some suggestions in our book.
Oh, yes.
Because we do a lot around internal dialogue, we do a lot around purpose, but internal dialogue in particular is obviously a big, you know, which we'll obviously do a series on at some point, because it's a biggie. Yes. Thank you, Tina. Thank you very much. And look forward to next time when we do our nuggets.
Yes.
And if you want to subscribe to the channel, please do. And if you want to leave a comment below, please do. We love you to kind of join us with our community and join in the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye now.